And let's try that again off mute. Good afternoon. Hello and happy Monday to you. Good afternoon. I'm so glad that you're able to join me today for 5 lessons that I have learned during the pandemic. I am Lola Johnston, and I am the happy creator of the Bloom Movement. And I'm so happy that you are joining me today. Hey, I want to see where you guys are joining me from. So please feel comfortable and free to go to the comments and say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I want to share with you today. I wanted to make sure that I didn't take too much of your time. And so I want to get in and get out. Here we're talking about 5 lessons that I have learned from burnout. And I wonder if any of you have had that experience before, this experience called burnout, where you don't necessarily find pleasure in the things that you used to like, where you find yourself being tired all the time and worn out. And I tell you, with all of the things that I was trying to do during the pandemic, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was pastoring a church. I had started with the Bloom Movement and shifted it from being a live in-person conference to a virtual conference. I took some time to travel, and I'm still preaching and doing all the things that I usually did as though there was no pandemic. And then I got some bad news around the fall of the year and burned out. You ever had that experience before? And so I had to kind of step back emotionally. I really wasn't able to produce the way I was producing before. I just dropped everything. I dropped Bloom. I dropped my studies for a little bit. I mean, kind of fell behind with those and really tried to pull it back together. And there were some lessons that I learned that I wanted to share with you. And so I want to go directly to the first lesson, my first lesson learned from burnout. And before I do that, I want to ask you to go in the chat and just, think about some things that you've learned from burnout or some things that you struggled with in the season. We certainly want to hear from you. So I want to talk about my first lesson that I learned, okay? First lesson. And the first lesson that I learned is that I am my first investment. Okay. I am my first investment. Now, we say that a lot and we talk about the priority that we should be in our own lives. But I find that many of us are not prioritizing ourselves in a proper way during this pandemic. We're trying to make sure that our families are safe, and we're, checking in on parents and those who are vulnerable. We are making sure that our children are going to virtual school and participating and getting good grades. We're even making sure that we show up for work and that we are adapting in this work, adapting to the need for us to continue to produce work in this environment. And we've done so much to make sure that we still show up at the same level that I don't think that we're really investing in ourselves in a way that we really would need to. Say you were on a ski trip and broke your leg. If you broke your leg, it would be obvious to you and anyone else around you as you went to the hospital to have your leg set, as you had a cast placed around that leg, as crutches were given to you in order to be able to be mobile from one place to another. It would be obvious to you and everyone else that you would not be able to produce and operate at the same level that you would if you had not broken your leg. Clear. If you had broken a finger or a toe, same thing. But here we've come to the pandemic and we have not adjusted our mindsets to actually accept the fact that we are in a season where we will not be able to show up at 100%. You are not going to have the same energy that you would have prior to pandemic in order to do work. You will not be at the same capacity to interact with your family. You will not be there. You're going to deal with grief, compounded grief. And all of the stress and trauma that we see on the news, 500,000 people who have lost their lives, uncertainty of the job market and uncertainty of even knowing how and when we will see our relatives again. It is impossible for you to produce at the same level, yet we try day in and day out, and we press ourselves and we ask, why is it that I'm sitting in front of Netflix? Why am I sitting in front of Disney Plus all day? Why can I not get myself together? Why am I not showing up for classes like I used to? What's wrong with me? And I'm telling you, number one, you have to understand that you are in a space where you need TLC now more than ever. But if you're trying to reach a goal that you cannot reach, which is 100% capacity as if there were no pandemic, you're not going to invest in yourself properly. I learned the hard way that I have to be my first investment. I have to at all times ensure that I am properly fueling and caring for myself so that I can do the things that I am expected to do from day to day. So, one of my favorite books that I have listened to, I am literally saying I've listened to this book 100 times at least. I need to go and listen to it again this year, and that is called The Richest Man in Babylon. It is an old book, but a great book about money management. And because I wanted to be better with how I handled money, I started to read The Richest Man in Babylon. And in that book, it uses stories in order to share these principles. And there are two men who are talking to each other, and they're tired of being broke. I mean, they're sick of it. They don't have enough money to do anything. And one guy is a wagon, or he makes chariots, and he's building these chariots, but he is just frustrated. I mean, burnt, that it seems like as soon as money comes into his hand, the money is gone. He can't save anything. His children need new shoes. His wife wants new garments, and he can't afford it. And so they go to the richest man in Babylon at this time. It's a man named Alcahad. And he shares with them what the principles are for them to be able to get more money, to save money, and to make more money. And he says to them something that is crazy for them, and was crazy to me too. I didn't understand it when I first heard it. And the principle that he shared, that 1/10 of every dollar that you earn belongs to you. Well, they're saying, well, shoot, all of my dollars belong to me, don't they? I earned them. The name is on my check. I'm using 2021 language. I mean, the money comes into my account. All of that money is mine. But then he says back to them something that's important for us to recognize. I want you to hear this. He says that oftentimes you can get a whole paycheck and none of that money actually stays with you. It goes to your cell phone bill. It goes to your cable bill. It goes to your car note. It goes to rent. It goes to heat. It goes to all of your obligations, so that at the end, you might even end up with a negative amount of money. So you have worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And at the end of that week, none of that money has come to you. And if that is the case in your life, you are a slave. If none of your money stays with you, you are a slave. He says you must drill into your mind, into your psyche, that every time you make a dollar, 10 cents of that dollar belongs to you. It don't matter who gets paid. It don't matter what obligations are out there. You have to keep some for you. If you are not doing this, you are working for no wages. And come on, let's just stop there in the financial realm and talk about how many times we have gotten a paycheck, and at the end of that paycheck, we don't see anything that has stayed with us. There's no money that has actually stayed with us. I had to learn, and is still learning, that I have to save some of that money for me because I worked for it. But watch this. I recognize that it is the same thing with my time. That if my money should be an indication, if I'm working, that I am not a slave, right? And I'm saving 10% of my money for myself, then how much more should I be doing the same with my time? How much more if I am not a slave, if I am a free person, if I am an individual, right? Who needs to be able to grow and to be healthy and to learn and to invest in myself in order to be able to show up elsewhere, then how much more should my time belong to me? And so I believe that in the same way that 1/10 of our earnings should belong to us, that you should be able to save at least 10 cents for every dollar you made, then 10% of every hour should belong to you. 1/10 of a day is 2 hours and 24 minutes. And I already know what you're thinking. I don't have 2 hours and 24 minutes. I have kids. I have a job. I'm trying to do things. I know I don't have 2 hours and 24 minutes. But let me tell you, if you do not prioritize, right, some time for yourself, it might not be 1/10 of your day, right? But if you are not able to prioritize some portion of every day for yourself, then you are a slave. I've done the same. Run from the time I get out of my bed to the time I go to sleep, and I've done all kinds of stuff for other people. I have not properly eaten. I have not properly rested. Sometimes I haven't even properly bathed and put makeup on, just running and doing stuff for other people. And we are living the life of slaves. And these are the reasons why we burn out, because we have not properly fueled ourselves, using our time for our own benefit. If you are not reserving some of your time for you, you are a mule, you are a workhorse, you are not an independent free person. Oh my goodness, that thing hit hard. I'm saying, oh my goodness, what would change in my life if 2 hours and 24 minutes of my day was mine? Now, when I practice this, principle in my life, I have an hour to work out. I spend 30 minutes in quiet time with Jesus. I'm spending some time just, spending time where I like to listen to music and to just imagine what the day's going to be like. I spend some time making healthy meals for myself so I can sit down and I'm actually eating meals and not just grabbing stuff to go. I give myself time to eat, to meditate, and to spend time with God, to actually exercise my body so that I have a healthy resource to give to the world, so that I'm not pouring out of a deficit. And how many times when we are just running and we say we're getting stuff done, we're half doing things, we're forgetting things, we're falling all over ourselves, we're actually accidentally spilling things on ourselves because we have not properly invested in ourselves. So I wanted to share a couple of ideas for how we can make this happen. How can you get 1/10 of your day for yourself? Anybody have that question? How could I, who have kids, who have a husband, or don't have a husband, don't have kids, but I have this job and I have, responsibilities. How can I get 10% of my day? Well, I believe that we all can. And these are a couple of ways that we can do it. First of all, I believe you can go to sleep earlier. Some of us, we stay up all night watching videos, scrolling on our phone, playing games. And then that way we sleep later into the morning and we're only able to get up, wash, and get back to work. But if we went to sleep earlier and intentionally, we could get some of our days back. I mean, just intentionally, one thing that my husband has urged me to do is to turn my television off while I am going to sleep, to just turn it off, to put my phone down, to give my brain the opportunity to sleep. Because understand that if you are not stimulating your brain and stimulating that mechanism, you can go to sleep. And many of us can't go to sleep because we have our television on and we're playing games. Go to sleep earlier. Secondly, I want to say that you need to wake up earlier. Oh my goodness. I like to sleep, and so the idea of waking up earlier kind of makes my skin itch. But I realize when I wake up earlier, I actually have time where other people are asleep, so they're not texting me. Other people are not asking me for anything. You know, they may have emailed through the night, but they're usually not emailing early in the morning. If they have, they're really not expecting a response right now. So if I wake up early in the morning, then I have that hour to go to the gym. I have that 30 minutes to spend in time with prayer. I have those moments to sit down and figure out what healthy meals I'm going to eat for the day. I even have time to plan out the 10 things that I want to get done today so that I'm not just launching into the day. So waking up earlier is key. Here we go. I want you to eliminate busy work and meaningless activity. I burn so much time doing foolish stuff. I mean, just foolishness. Number one, playing spades on my phone. Come on here. Number two, on Facebook, watching y'all live, looking at Instagram and stuff. This is meaningful time that I really could be condensing to do things that I need to do early in the day. So by the time it's time to go to bed, I can go to sleep, right? But a lot of us, are involved in social media, and some of us need to ask some questions as to whether or not social media is really healthy for us, because it causes us to be a part of addictive activity and to find ourselves doing stuff that we shouldn't do. Delegate responsibility. Everything on your list can be done by somebody else, essentially, right? So I want you to look at the things on the list, and I want you to identify the things that only you can do, okay? Identify the things that only you can do and delegate the rest. There's some stuff that you can delegate. Sometimes you delegate it by getting someone who is a vendor to do it for you. When I was single, I used to delegate making my meals. I didn't have time to be sitting around cooking, so I would just, delegate that to vendors so that I could have time to do the other things, You figure out what you can delegate on your list and share that. Well, that's my first lesson for today. I am my first investment. And if you believe that, I want you to put that in the chat. I am my first investment. I want you to find some ways where you can prioritize yourself. And I want you to see in your life what would happen if you just use 1/10 of your day for you. Just you, not the kids, not the spouse, not the household, just you. And I promise you that when you invest in yourself in that way intentionally, that you will see some remarkable changes, and you'll start to build up the bandwidth to make it through the pandemic. Well, I know that part of it might be challenging, so I want to say I want to help, and I want to share with you that we have an upcoming event that I think would be a real blessing for you. It's called Bloom in a Day. Bloom in a Day is coming March 21 from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is free. Somebody say free. It is free. You can register at bloomday.lolajohnston.com. It is free, but spaces are limited. So I'm asking you, if you will, as we're getting out of this, go to bloomday.lolajohnston.com, and there you can sign up. You see, we have 4 amazing speakers. Let me look at you so I can tell you about those 4 speakers. 4 speakers: Alicia Jones, who is one of my homegirls and also wants to share with us how she lost 80 pounds, losing the plan that God gave her, as well as becoming now a health coach and helping people to shed hundreds of pounds during this pandemic. We also have Sarah Mcdougal, who is an advocate for those who are in abusive situations. She will share with us her own journey, how she has overcome so many circumstances and now is a voice to help other people overcome. Man, Cheryl Pullins, she is the iconic branding maven, and she's going to come in here and share her story and tell us how she learned how to make an iconic brand for herself and how she's going to share with others. And let me tell you, Mignon Francois is going to share with us how she went from making cupcakes in her own home to a $10 million cupcake empire. I can't wait for Bloom in a Day, and I'm telling you, you need to be there. So I'm sharing with you now. The spaces are limited. You need to sign up at bloomday.lolajohnston.com. Again, it is completely free, but it is going to be a life-changing event that will help you to bloom in your own experience. I can't wait to share it with you. And I want to say thank you so much for joining me for lunch today. We'll be back tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not going to keep you long. I want to share with you the second lesson that I learned in the pandemic. But until then, won't you go to bloomday.lolajohnston.com, and I want to share with you that Bloom in a Day conference. Oh man, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday. I will see y'all tomorrow. God bless you.